Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Echo-Based Gaming. In this episode we will talk about the spoiler cards that they previewed since our last episode.
Yeah.
20 this time, quite a lot. And we will also briefly discuss the two live broadcasts that they did.
Yeah.
Yesterday and last week.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was a conversation with the lead designer, Danny, and two senior designers, Jeremy and Tyler.
Yeah.
And yesterday was a live show about deck building, and they played two games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's start with that, with the live shows.
Yeah. Yeah, so two live shows this month. Not a lot of time between the two, but that's because we're in December and the holiday season is upon us. So that's why they decided to do the lives early December. So that's also why we decided to do this video after the second live this month.
And combine them.
Yeah, and combine them. Just because there wasn't enough information after the first one to really do a video about.
Yeah.
So we decided to combine them in one video. So yeah, the first one about the design insights, really informative. It's nice to learn more about the design of the first set in Star Wars Unlimited.
Yeah.
Get some inside knowledge, some behind the scenes thoughts about designing cards.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. Yeah. So some things that they talk about, for instance, are the two leaders that went through the most iterations, being Han Solo and Tron.
Yeah.
So both had actually a different design than what they ended up with. So I'm really interested to learn more about the designs that didn't make it.
Yeah.
So they briefly touch upon it that maybe they use those in later sets.
Probably.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. So that's why they haven't talked about it too much, of course, because they want to keep it a secret. But just to learn that leaders go to multiple iterations was a nice insight. I'm really interested in the Tron. They talked about that Tron before the leader that we got was really different, but it was really hard to track. And so that's why they decided that in this first set it wasn't the best leader for the first set.
Yeah.
Same goes for Han Solo. They actually also talked about Han Solo that just at the last time they did some changes to Han Solo.
2/3 of the playtesting they had the old ability.
Yeah.
And then afterwards they changed to the new card design.
Yeah.
And they also mentioned that probably the design that they previously had will be stronger when there are more sets.
Yeah.
So yeah, when there are more sets, we'll probably get another leader with this with this design.
With this design, yeah. So the current Han Solo leader also went to a quick small change, just because there was an interaction with a card from the second set, where they decided we have to change it a little bit. I don't know what the exact interaction was, of course, but they would talk about it once we get the card from the second set. Yeah. So it's also great to see that they have the bigger picture in mind. So they design cards with the bigger picture, like how is this card going to function when there are more sets in play. Yeah. So I think that's a really good thing, and that they change cards at the very end because they discovered interaction that was maybe too strong or just clunky. So I think just overall great information. Was really nice to hear the designers talk about the game, of course. Very informative, like I said. So
what they also talked about is cards that were underwhelming, or at least the community thought they were underwhelming. And the biggest one they talked about was Chewbacca, the leader.
The leader, yeah.
And maybe it's a nice segue to go to the next live, because they actually played with a deck, and there it really showed the power of Chewbacca.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The second live was about deck building. Yeah, so actually this was the first time that they used leaders other than Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker to showcase those. Chewbacca, Boba Fett and Han Solo. So the first battle was between Darth Vader and Chewbacca.
Yeah.
And the second one was between Boba Fett and Han Solo.
Yeah. We won't spoil the results if you haven't seen the video yet.
Yeah.
So, but Two interesting games.
Two interesting, completely different games.
Yeah.
One went long and the other one was a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
Of course, that's because the type of deck that they played. Chewbacca is a grindy control deck.
Yeah.
So those games tend to take longer.
It showcased the strength
The
of
strength
Chewbacca.
of Chewbacca, yeah.
And also the restore. It played a lot of cards with restore.
Yeah.
And that really impacted the game a lot.
Yeah. And also the Sentinel was important. The ability of Chewbacca's leader, of course. So a great live. They showed a lot of new cards, a lot of new powerful cards. And talked a little bit about deck building. So it was the second live about deck building. They also released an article, so you can read everything that they said and more even. So I would again advise to just watch the live to see the games for yourself and read the article if you want some more information about deck building. So one thing that we should always do is include enough space units in our deck. That was something that they quickly touched upon, that when building a decks, they figured that sometimes people forget to include enough space units. And it's really a 2-lane game, so you need your space lanes. And Tyler said, you need to eat your vegetables. So even though maybe you think the ground units are cooler or stronger, yes, they are stronger, but you need your space units to build a functional deck. So I think that was the live.
One thing that I would like to mention that I think they talked about it very shortly in the second live, is that we will actually get all cards previewed before release.
Yeah, true.
So that's great news. So we know what we can expect when we open the packs.
Yeah, so during pre-release, the whole set.
Yeah. However, we will not see all the different arts.
No.
So the showcases and stuff.
Especially the showcases,
will be fun to open them and see them for the first time.
Yeah. So maybe they will show another showcase, hopefully. I'm dying to see more showcase leaders. Of course, the hyperspace are just full art, so you kind of know what to expect with those. We also haven't seen shiny cards. No. So that's also something that we haven't seen yet. But there is still some time until release, of course, so who knows what we get in the meantime. So a little bit under 3 months until the release, so not too long, actually. The cards got revealed. And they actually started with the double aspect cards. So before this, every month was a different aspect, and they showed some cards, and now it's the double aspect cards that they show, because they went through every aspect already. So actually the first one that they showed was a double aspect unit. So our first unit. We of course have the events already, the legendary events, but this time it's a unit. It's the Cantina Bouncer, 5-cost double cunning aspects. The Fringe keyword with the stat line of 3/5. And the ability, when played, you may return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand.
Okay, so the same effect as Waylay in a unit card?
Yeah.
Which is a very strong effect.
Yeah. Waylay costs 3.
So you get single aspect though?
Single aspect, that's true. But I think that, it is a strong card, I would say. You definitely only play this in the double aspect decks, because for 7 it becomes a little bit too expensive. True. It works actually really great with Tron, or actually the Chimera, to be more precise. Bounce a card back to the hand, and then with the Chimera, name that card, so they have to discard it. So there are some cool tricks that you can do. Cunning will have a lot of tricks like that, I suppose, so more and more in the future. So I think a nice card that you definitely want to play when you already playing double cunning. It's an auto include for now. So the second card that was revealed is the Avenger, a space unit, a 9-cost vigilance villainy with traits Imperial Vehicle Capital Ship, a stat line of 8/8, and when played / on attack, an opponent chooses a non-leader unit they control, defeat that unit.
Strong card again.
Nice stat line.
Yeah.
For a 9 cost space
Expensive
unit.
though, but
It is expensive. I think that if you want to play Star Destroyers, for now you have to combine it with Command to get more resources in the resource pile.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it takes too long to get to 9 for Vigilance only.
Yeah.
So for now I think that if you want to play this card you need a Vigilance Command deck.
Yeah.
So it's nice that this ability is actually, so when played and on attack. So every attack you can defeat or your opponent can choose a unit to defeat.
Yeah.
So obviously this effect becomes stronger when your opponent has less units on the board. So he has to pick a strong unit.
Yeah. So you can time when you play it or when you attack with this card.
Yeah.
So for instance, they have to defeat a Luke Skywalker unit.
Yeah, for instance, or when you play against a Swarm deck, this obviously becomes less strong because they can just pick a 1/1, for instance, or a 1 cost unit.
Yeah.
Then it's not very strong, but you know it's great because cards don't have to be strong against everything.
No.
So a well-timed Avenger, a nice trick that Vigilance now has access to.
Yeah.
Defeating units is always strong, and
It's actually free.
it's actually free and it's on every attack. So if you can ready this unit again and attack again at the same turn, it becomes stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
So there are definitely some cool combinations that you can do with this card. So I think overall a strong unit.
Yeah.
So the next card is an upgrade, Academy Training, 2 cost command aspect. And it just boosts your units by 2/2.
Yeah.
So it's actually just 2 experience tokens, you can say, for 2. Not a lot to say about this card, obviously.
Basic but nice.
Basic but nice. I think this is a typical limited play card. Just only the command aspect. It boosts your units with 2/2, which isn't too bad.
No.
And I think this is a great card for limited. In constructed, I don't know.
I think could be nice, especially with the 97th Trooper maybe. Having the extra
Is always nice.
resources already.
Yeah.
So when you have 9 resources, for example, it costs 7, and for the other 2 you add the +2/+2.
Then it becomes a really strong unit.
11/11.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it definitely has some potential. I have to see how good upgrades are going to be.
yeah, there are some very powerful
Definitely,
upgrades.
yeah. But I don't know if this is one of them. We'll just have to see. Obviously, there will be other cards that have to be revealed yet. So, yeah, a decent card, I would say. Yeah. So this actually was revealed by Late Night Gaming. And they also had a second card, which is the Rootless Raider, another space unit, 6 cost aggression villainy, with the trait Imperial Vehicle Capital Ship, and the stat line of 4/6. And when played / when defeated, deal 2 damage to an enemy base and 2 damage to an enemy unit.
Okay.
So our first aggression Star Destroyer. I think the same goes for this one. If you want to play this in an aggression deck, I think you have to combine it with command for now.
Yeah.
It is 6, so it is cheaper than...
It's one of the cheapest, right?
It's one of the cheapest, yeah, that's true. But still,
6
it can be a lot especially for an aggression deck, which just wants to play as much units as possible to flood the board.
It has a nice ability.
It has a nice ability, yeah. Dealing 2 damage to an enemy base and to a unit is exactly what you want to do. It's damage that cannot be prevented by your opponent with Sentinels, for instance. So it's just flat 2 damage to the base, but also a unit. And it's actually on when played and when defeated. So when you play this unit, you can actually do 4 damage to a base, which is a lot. And also worth noting is that this isn't a unique unit.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can actually play 2, for instance, on the board, or you can have 2 on the board. Playing 2 in the same turn is going to be a little bit too much. I think 12 resources.
And when the defeated is nice, because even though it has a large unit as Sentinel in the space, you can just put it on a suicide mission, so to speak, and then even still do the 2 damage to the base.
Yeah, yeah, or to another important unit
Yeah.
that is prevented by the sentinel unit of your opponent. So I think for aggression, this is exactly what you want. A strong unit with a decent stat line and a great ability. So I think for now you have to combine it with commands to actually play it and maybe even play one the turn afterwards. Because even though 6 is lower than the other Star Destroyers, it's still a lot, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, you are mid to late game, mid game around 6 resources, I would say. And it is a finisher, maybe, potentially.
Could be, yeah.
Doing the last 4 damage to a base, like you said, just sending on the suicide mission and dealing 4 in 1 turn is actually, quite decent.
Yeah.
So I think a strong space unit for aggression.
Yeah.
And talking about strong space unit for aggression, the next one is Red 3, which is a space unit, a cost 3, aggression heroism, with the traits Rebel Vehicle Fighter, a stat line of 2-3, and rate 1, with the ability each other friendly heroism unit gains rate 1.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think this is a really powerful space unit for aggression. Of course, for aggression heroism. It is only 3 cost, so it's not an expensive unit. It has rate 1 himself, so on attack it becomes a 3-3. So I think a 3 for 3-3 is actually the stat line that you want in space. But also boosting your other heroism units with rate 1 space and ground units is why you would play this card, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially in aggression heroism, I think you want a lot of units. It's kind of a swarmy deck for now. So getting multiple triggers of that rate 1 can actually add up to lots of damage. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and I like that this is heroism units and not aggression units. So, for instance, when you go aggression vigilance, it also boosts the vigilance units if they are heroism.
Yeah.
So it's also great in dual aspect color decks, or actually triple them. Strong.
Yeah, I think you want to have this card in the triple aspect deck, because I don't think there are enough aggression heroism units yet. So maybe, who knows, we'll get them, but
we don't have the full set
no,
yet.
at this point, to me it seems like you want to play this in a triple aspect deck to have full benefit of the ability.
Yeah, true. Yeah, great art.
Yeah.
So I think then we can go to the next card, which is the Scout by Pursuit, which is a ground unit, 2 cost vigilance villainy, with the traits Imperial Trooper and a stat line of 1-4, and it has grit. So it becomes stronger while it has damage.
Yeah.
And that's why the stat line is 1-4, I think. It's great on a great unit to have more HP. Yeah. Nice art, the Scout Trooper. But yeah, I think the stat line is perfect for what it wants to do. Like I said, lots of HP. It only becomes stronger. Works great in the Krennic deck. That one's, which wants to have units with damage. And if they also have grit, it becomes they become even stronger.
Yeah.
So in that deck, I think this is an auto-include. Talking about leaders, we got our second Vigilance Villainy leader revealed. This time it's Iden Versio. With the action tap, if an enemy unit was defeated this phase, heal 1 damage from your base. And it deploys when you have 6 resources. And then it has the trait Imperial Trooper, a stat line of 4-4, shielded, and when an enemy unit is defeated, heal 1 damage from your base.
Okay.
So on the deployed side, it's for every unit that is defeated, and on the undeployed side, it's just once because you have the tapper. I really like this leader.
Yeah, I think the ability is amazing.
Yeah.
And therefore her stat line is a bit on the weak side, I would say. But the ability makes up for it.
Yeah. Also a leader with shielded. It's nice.
True. Yeah.
Stays on the board a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really interested to build a deck with her. We also got another card revealed that works great with her.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about it in...
I think it's the last card.
Yeah, it's the last card that we are going to talk about, but yeah, I just can't wait to get more Inferno Squad cards.
Yeah.
I really like the design of the Inferno Squad in Battlefield, of Battlefront.
Battlefront 2.
Yeah, so yeah, I think they were a really nice new units that we haven't seen before, the Inferno Squads. So really cool looking troopers. Item Versio is a really interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely one of the leaders that I want to build a deck with.
Yeah. One thing that I maybe would like to add is that Item Versio would also be perfect for when they eventually make
Neutral
leaders.
Yeah.
So that's a shame that they
a little
didn't
bit
use her for that.
spoiler alert for those who haven't played Battlefront yet.
Yeah,
but
of course. Yeah.
maybe the spoiler is outdated now because it's...
Yeah. At one point she will join the rebels.
Yeah.
Actually. So that would have been nice. Of course, it's something that won't be in the first set. But yeah, they could have used her for that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So maybe, you know, she would be great for a double vigilance leader, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right with that. Yeah. Also, I want to add that I forgot that the Scout Bike Pursuer was spoiled by El Vala del Jedi, a Spanish content creator. So check that out. So then we go to the next card that was revealed by a content creator, the Spec Force Soldier. It's a ground unit, 1 cost aggression heroism, with the traits Rebel Trooper, a stat line of 2/2, and when played, a unit loses Sentinel for this phase. Yeah, again, I think this is exactly what you want as aggression. So you want to do damage at your opponent's base as quickly as possible. And Sentinel units are a way to prevent that as your opponent. So I think for aggression to have an ability that shuts Sentinel down for a phase is actually great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only to attack your opponent's base, but also go after the stronger units that are protected by the Sentinel unit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a very nice card. It's just a 1 cost.
It's just 1
For
cost.
a 2/2, which is already quite nice.
Yeah.
And then having the added ability, it is a niche ability because not every deck will play Sentinels.
No.
But still.
Yeah.
It already has a 2/2 and then the ability on top.
Yeah.
It's a nice card.
Yeah, true, but we also have a sideboard. So if you play aggression, it's a great card to put in your sideboard, or maybe just 1 in your main deck and then the other 2 in your sideboard. Because on paper, Sentinels is going to be the biggest counter towards aggression, preventing your opponent to deal with your base. So it's great for aggression to have multiple ways to deal with that, and this is one of them.
Yeah. It also has a lot of Saboteur.
It also has a lot of, which is another way to prevent Sentinels or deal with Sentinels. And actually, that's the second card that got revealed by Generator Gaming, which is an event, Precision Fire, a 1 cost aggression event. Attack with a unit, it gains Saboteur for this attack. If it's a Trooper unit, it also gets +2/+0 for this attack.
Okay.
So, like I said, I think this is one of those cards that are great in your sideboard. Like you said, if you don't play against Sentinels or a deck that plays a lot of shields, this becomes useless.
Yeah, it's still a +2.
Yeah, but there are other ways to buff your units, I think, better for a resource.
Okay.
And I think this card is amazing because it gets the added Saboteur. But this is definitely one of those cards that is perfect for your sideboard.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, great art again. So then the next card, which is another double aspect card that got revealed by FFG. It's in event this time. Attack Parent Delta, a 3 cost double command event with give a friendly unit +3/+3 for this phase, give another friendly unit +2/+2 for this phase, and give a third friendly unit +1/+1 for this phase.
Yeah.
So basically you give your units +6/+6.
Yeah.
Which is amazing for 3, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a very strong card.
You do need 3 units in play.
Yeah. But that's, I think, what you want for a command deck.
Yeah.
It's mostly...
It depends on what kind of command deck you play. A lot of strong units, then you definitely have less units on the board. But I think for the command heroism side, which is more troopers and just a little bit more units on the board, I think this is amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great card for my Leia Echo base deck. Not only the effect, but also the art, which is another hot art. So this is an auto include in that deck, I would say. So I think this is a really powerful card if you have 3 units on the board, 3 or more units on the board. Because you also want to buff the important units, of course, and this is a great way to do that. Also, you're able to decide what unit do you give +3, the other unit +2, and +1.
Yeah.
So you can actually equal all the units. For instance, give the smaller units +3/+3, and give the stronger units +1/+1. So you have more units on the board that pack a punch, or you can go all out on one and just use the +3/+3 on your strongest units. It is space and ground, by the way, so you can just pick and choose what's right. So I think that's also what makes this card so strong, is you have a lot of freedom with this card. So if you need to boost a unit in space, you can do it with this card, but at the same time you can also boost your ground. So it's, like I said, a pick and choose card, which is really strong in my opinion.
Yeah, I do agree.
So the next card that got revealed was actually revealed by a content creator, Nerd Strike Back, which is K2SO, a ground unit, 4-cost aggression heroism, with the rebel droid traits, a stat line of 4/4, overwhelm, and when defeated, for each opponent, choose one. Either deal 3 damage to that player's base, or that player discards a card from their hand.
Okay. Yeah, we briefly talked about K2SO already in another episode when we talked about Jyn Erso, the leader. We would like to see K2SO and the other group of Rogue One.
Yeah, more characters from Rogue One.
Yeah, and I think the stat line is okay. It's
a decent stat line, yeah. I think 8 for a 4-cost is nice.
And in terms of the ability, I think in almost all situations you would choose for the 3 damage to the base. Yeah.
I think with the cards that have been revealed so far, definitely, yeah. So maybe aggression gets another trick that interacts with your opponent's hand. So then this becomes stronger, of course. I think also what's nice about this card is that this card is actually worded so it also interacts with multiplayer, because it's for each opponent and not just your opponent. So I think it's also nice to see that FFG took multiplayer in account from set 1 and actually designed cards that interact with multiple opponents. So that's also a nice thing about this card. I agree with you that for now you almost always choose for the 3 damage. Doing 3 damage directly to your opponent's base is great, and I think that's exactly what aggression wants to do. So this is a great way to ignore sentinels, for instance. And I think that's exactly what aggression wants. So the next card was also revealed by Nerd Strike Back, and is also a card from Rogue One. It's Benthic 2 Tubes. It's a ground unit, a 1-cost aggression, with the traits Rebel Trooper, a stat line of 2/2, and on attack, another friendly aggression unit gains rate 2.
Okay.
So it's a 1-cost card, only aggression, so it's a neutral card in that regards, but it works better in heroism because it has the rebel trait. So I think that's a nice thing, and that's also exactly in line with the flavor of this character.
Wouldn't call him a hero, but works together with rebels.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, decent set line for 1 cost, and also the ability is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I think having another friendly aggression unit on the board is not that hard
No.
to achieve. And you give it rate 2, so not just rate 1, which is also strong. So I think a nice card, where it's great unlimited, because it's, you know, aggression only and a 1 cost. So I think a nice card. The next card is a space unit, the Redemption. It's an 8 cost Vigilance Heroism with traits Rebel, Vehicle, Capital, Ship, with a stat line of 6/9. It has Sentinel, and when played, heal up to 8 total damage from any number of units and or bases. Deal that damage to this unit.
okay.
Yeah, I think healing your base for 8 is actually a lot. 8 damage is quite a lot in this game.
Yeah, it really has an impact.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you do 8 damage to your opponent's base in 1 turn, it's a great turn. And this card just nullifies that turn, basically.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's a great card. It's really vigilance, healing. It's also great because it's the Redemption, which is the medical frigate in the lore. So a great ship for an ability like this. I think the freedom that you have with this card is what makes it really nice. Because, like I said, you can heal your base for 8. But you can also heal units, and you can heal multiple units. So for instance, a great thing that you can do is heal if you have 2 or 3 Sentinel units, for instance, on the board. Heal those Sentinel units so your opponent is not able anymore to one-shot them. I think that's another nice trick that you can do.
Yeah.
It has Sentinel itself. So you're actually damaging your own Sentinel unit. It can be tricky, of course, because it, you know, if you do 8 damage to this unit, it only has 1 HP left. So your opponent can one-shot it.
Yeah. But still deals 6 damage back.
Yeah.
So that's also nothing to sniff at.
No.
It's...
And also important to realize. Yeah, so again, this works great with shields, for instance. So in the Luke Skywalker deck, this is great.
Or Chewbacca with, as you said, with the giving Sentinel to other ground units. So yeah, I think there are multiple decks where this will see play.
Yeah, I agree. It's a card that just does what Vigilance wants to do. So the next card, for a cause I believe in, is an event, a 3-cost Aggression Heroism. It has reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. For each Heroism card revealed this way, deal 1 damage to an enemy base. And then you may discard any of the revealed cards and put the rest back on top of your deck in any order. So ideally, you want to do 4 damage with this card, of course. So it becomes powerful in a deck that plays a lot of Heroism cards. I think, you know, one of the worst things that can happen is you play this card and you just reveal 2 Heroism units. It's just a feels bad thing if you know that you have a potential of doing 4 damage. Which is also directly to the base. So another card that directly attacks your opponent's base.
Yeah. Yeah. To be honest, I don't know. We don't have the full set yet. How many Heroism cards there will be, and how big the chance will be of drawing 4 Heroism cards.
Yeah, it depends on deck building, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, it is of course ideal to do 4 damage, but yeah, we'll have to see how realistic that will be.
Yeah. And of course, one of the strongest Heroism cards that you can combine with this card is You're My Only Hope, which is a 3-cost event. Look at the top card of your deck, so now you know what's on top, and then you may play it. It costs 5 less, and if your base has 5 or less remaining HP, it's free. So another thing besides the damage, what this card does is it stacks your deck.
Yeah.
So you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You do have to reveal them to your opponent. But then you can choose to either discard the cards that you don't need anymore. You know, if it's mid to late game, you know, the cards that are strong early on. You can just discard them so you don't draw them in the future turn. So stacking your deck is really strong in any card game, I would say. Just having more information than your opponent, because it's 4 cards, and if you don't discard any of them, you actually know the next 2 turns what you're going to draw, because you draw 2 cards every turn. Another fun little interaction with this card is when you play against Tron, because Tron can look at your top card, and so he knows what you're going to draw.
Yeah.
And with this card you can re-stack the cards, and so Tron doesn't know what's on top of your deck anymore.
Yeah.
A really strong card, in my opinion, for now an auto-include in every aggression heroism deck. And of course it becomes a lot stronger when you have more heroism cards in your deck, and that only increases over time.
Yeah.
So the more sets we have, the more heroism cards we have. And I think the chances of revealing 4 heroism cards become bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So then another aggression event, which was revealed by Hunter and Friends Brett Spiele, German content creators. And it's a 2-cost aggression event. Ready a unit with 3 or less power.
Okay. Yeah.
So
great art.
Great art from the prequels, from the Clone Wars. Yeah. It's a simple card, but it's a really strong card in aggression.
Yeah.
Because aggression has a lot of raid, the raid keywords, which is perfect for this card.
Yeah.
Because the power of cards with raid are usually a little bit lower. So they go below the 3 or less power for this card. But then when they attack with 4 or 5 power.
Yeah.
So they become really strong cards. So that's, I think, the perfect synergy with a card like this, or cards that have on attack ability, to get the second trigger of that ability. So there are definitely some situations where this card becomes really strong. Yeah, I think nothing more to say about this.
No.
It's a good card, and it becomes stronger when you have the right units to ready.
Yeah.
So then the next card, which isn't an aggression card, but a cunning card. It's a space unit, a 2-cost cunning villainy, cartel space, with the traits Underworld Vehicle Fighter and a stat line of 2-3. And the when played ability, if you control another cunning unit, exhaust an enemy unit that costs 4 or less. So just like Benthic Chew Tubes, another card that cares about other units beside this with the same aspect. So I don't think that this is really hard to achieve. Another cunning unit. A 2-3 stat line for a 2-cost is nice. Exhausting your opponent's unit is really annoying, and that's exactly what cunning wants to do. Disrupt your opponent's plans.
Yeah.
And when you can just exhaust the right unit at the right time,
Yeah.
it's really it can really disrupt your opponent's turn.
Yeah. A nice card, I would say.
Yeah, me too. I agree. So the next card is also a cunning card, Bodhi Rook. So another card from Rook One. So this time it's a 3-cost cunning, so double cunning cards with the traits Imperial Rebel and the stat line of 3-3. And when played, look at an opponent's hand and discard a non-unit card from it.
Yeah.
So the first thing that is nice about this card, that it has the Imperial and the Rebel traits.
Yeah.
So it's truly a neutral card.
Yeah.
Not only with the aspects but also the keywords. Yeah, which I think it suits the character.
Yeah.
Of course. It is double cunning. I don't think that you want to play this card in a deck that's not double cunning, because the stat line is okay, 3-3. The one played effect is also nice.
Yeah. I think it's nice when combined with a Tron leader.
For instance, yeah.
So when your opponent draws a nice card that you want to get rid of.
Yeah.
The next turn you can play Bodhi Rook, and then that they have this card in their hand.
Yeah, and when you play Tron, you usually also play the Chimera, for instance, which is another card that discards cards.
Yeah.
So I think just discarding one is a little bit okay, but when you can discard more and more cards,
it's really disruptive.
Then it becomes really disruptive, and you can really just make sure that your opponent can't play the game, basically, because they don't have enough cards to resource anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really nice disruptive ability,
Yeah.
which is also great for a cunning card, because it's the aspect, it suits the aspect. Yeah, I think that's all what we can say about this card. Hopefully we get the other characters from Rogue One also in the first set. We got a couple of them already, so I
still miss one of the biggest names.
Yeah.
Cassian Andor.
Cassian Andor, yeah, maybe he's a leader. Who knows? The aggression heroism leader. Who knows? So I think both Cassian and Saw Gerrera are great options for aggression. They are both aggressive characters. So the next card is again a cunning card. This time it's a 2-cost cunning aspect only crafty smuggler with the trait Underworld. It's a stat line of 2/2 and it has the shielded keyword. So another low-cost unit with the shielded keyword.
Yeah.
Which
Always
is
nice.
Yeah, I think shield is one of the stronger keywords of this set. And having shielded on a low-cost unit is really nice.
Yeah.
Really strong card for limited, I think. 2 cost, 2 stat line is just decent, but with shielded, I think in limited your opponent has less cards available that actually deal with the shield.
Yeah.
You can just attack it, of course, but in constructed maybe they have some more saboteur units, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think this can be a really strong card in limited. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a low-cost unit, so maybe it will also see play in constructed.
Yeah, you need your low-cost units, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But there are enough options now, so you can pick and choose what suits best in your deck, I would say.
Yeah, I think, like Tyler said, you have to eat your vegetables, and he referred to the space units, of course, but I think that also goes for the lower cost units. I think it's really easy to fall in the trap that you just want to include the cool characters, and usually they are a little bit higher cost, and but you need options for the first 2 turns.
Yeah.
Or when you play, or later when you play another unit, this is great for when you have 2 resources open. You know, just another unit to play, which is always nice.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. You need your low cost units, and this is a great option.
Yeah.
So the next card is our first true neutral card, and with neutral I mean no aspects on the card itself. So it's a grey card.
Yeah.
It's the Volunteer Soldier, a 3 cost with the Trooper trait, and the stat line of 2/3 with rate 1. And if you control a trooper unit, this unit costs 1 less to play.
Okay.
So, of course, this is great and limited because it doesn't require any aspects. So it's just 3 costs for every combination of aspects that you play.
Yeah.
Of course, this becomes a lot stronger in the trooper deck. When this becomes a 2-cost unit, it has a nice stat line.
Yeah.
For
actually very strong stat line, I would say, for 2.
on attack. Yeah. Having a power of 3 on attack and 3 HP for a 2-cost unit is really nice. Yeah. So I think in constructed, if you play a trooper unit, this is definitely an option that is available now. And in limited is just a nice unit to include because you don't have to pay any aspect penalties for this. And
it's a nice card that you fill your deck with.
Yeah.
So you have some space left. You don't want to add other aspects to your deck.
In limited,
I mean unlimited. I mean, so just put some true neutral cards in there, aspectless cards in there.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that this is also one of the cards that get picked early because you want to stay open as long as possible in limited. And with a card like this, you don't choose or you don't focus to certain aspects.
Yeah.
So for instance, the Cartel Spacer is Cunning Villainy. So if you pick a card like that early on, you start to zoom in on the Cunning Villainy aspects. But with a card like this, you actually stay open.
Yeah.
It's a great card. So Tyler briefly talked about it, how much of cards like this we are going to see in set 1.
Yeah.
And he talked about the card number.
Yeah.
The card number is 248. and there are 252 cards in the first set. So we can deduct that there are 4 grey cards in the first set, which is nice, especially for limited. Of course, we don't know what the other grey cards are going to do, but I think that they are included in this set also with limited in mind.
Yeah.
They are just great cards for limited, and it's a common, so you see it quite often, which is also nice for limited. A strong, decent common card, a nice inclusion, I would say.
Yeah.
And especially for limited. Yeah, but also for constructed. So the last card that got revealed, also by Hunter and Friends, is Delmico, another ground unit, a 3-cost Vigilance Villainy with the Imperial Trooper trait, and a stat line of 3/3 with Restore 1, and each event an opponent plays costs 1 more.
Yeah. Yeah. So when talking about item version, we said that another card was coming. Yeah. Well, it's this card, also part of the Inferno squad.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very nice card.
Yeah.
The stat line is nice for its cost. The Restore 1 makes it better.
Works great with item version.
True. And then the ability is very annoying for your opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, this is exactly what you want as a control deck. Making it less comfortable to play certain cards. And it's just a big threat on the board.
Yeah.
So when this is on the board for a longer time, you not only get more triggers out of the restore, which can add up, but also your opponent cannot play events, or he can play events but just has to pay 1 more.
Yeah, which hurts.
Which hurts, yeah, and it really messes up the resource tactics of your opponent. Because they included those events for the cost that's printed on the card, and now all of a sudden they have to pay 1 more. You plan your turns ahead, of course, in the card game. You have to change your strategy. And auto include an item versio, of course.
Yeah.
So another card lore-wise work together, which are also great in the game together.
So let's hope there are more members of the Inferno squad with synergy coming.
Yeah, they also have vehicles.
Sure.
So that's also an option. Yeah, I think a nice card. Definitely a card that item versio needed.
Yeah.
And I think it's really strong when you defeat a unit with Delmico. So you attack with Delmico and defeat a unit, you actually restore 2 with item versio.
Yeah.
And that can really add up quickly.
Yeah, it really slows down the game.
Yeah. Also. Yeah.
So that's always nice for a control deck.
Yeah.
And it's also a card that your opponent has to deal with. Otherwise, it will impact the game too much.
Yeah.
So your opponent has to either attack it or discard it with an event or something. So a nice card, I would say.
A nice last card, yeah. Yeah, so overall I think aggression is the biggest winner of these reveals. A lot of strong aggression cards. Yeah, so with that I think that we can conclude this video.
Yeah.
So no more lives this year, this month. So they can still reveal some new information with articles and posts on social media, of course. So I don't know if this is our last video this month.
Probably.
It probably is,
Yeah.
but who knows what got revealed between now and the end of this year. So yeah, next year, 2024, the release of this game.
Yeah.
I think it's sooner than you think. Just a little bit under 3 months left until the release. And in my opinion, the December month always goes by really quick with the holiday season.
Yeah.
So it's 2024 sooner than you think, and I cannot wait to start playing this game.
Yeah.
Of course, with the release of this game, we can also change our content more. You know, not only talk about reveals on lives, but also just play the game.
Yeah.
Open some packs, do some meta analysis, some rankings. The tournament starts, we can go over the tournament results.
Yeah.
Show people what deck we bring, hopefully talk about some great results ourselves, and yeah, really start the content of this YouTube page, I would say. Yeah. So we are in full preparation to make everything possible when the game releases.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play.
No, I agree, the hype is building up.
Definitely, yeah, especially with reveals like this and more information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And with that, I would like to conclude this video.
Yep.
So I wish you all a very happy and nice holiday season.
Me too.
Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe. And yeah, have a lovely end of your year, and hopefully see you next year.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.